This time, as Pastor Frank reminded us only last Sunday, Christ would be returning as your righteous judge. He would sit on his great white throne, not as a helpless baby crying and puking, but as the king of the whole universe. Power would blaze from his eyes as he would reign in fearful might, now here to avenge the saints who had died confessing him before sinners, unwilling to acclaim him as Lord. There would be no sign of his earthly mother Mary, whom those Catholics stupidly pray to. Just Jesus, strong in righteous might, thereby making all things right. With Mum closing the front door behind her, we all got into the car and set off for church. As we passed the Catholic church, Dad clicked on the indicator and a green light blinked on the dash. This time there was no marching song. Mum disapproved of my dad being deliberately controversial in public, and I guess this being the season of peace and goodwill towards men, she was likely happy he'd remained silent as we'd completed the right turn into a narrow road lined with parked cars on one side. Some of them, I noticed, still had frost on their windows. Christmas morning was a cold one, but at least our remnant church would be warm beneath the radiant space heaters on the walls. Pretty soon we were in the small car park. As Dad applied the creaky handbrake, knocked the Morris out of gear, and then switched off the grumbling engine, I noticed we'd parked next to Mrs. Frobisher, our church organist. Mum turned to her and waved as she opened her front door, while Dad tipped her seat forwards, ushering me out of the back. I stood up and looked at the tall woman, wearing horn-rimmed glasses and carrying a small satchel containing what I assumed were sheaves of sheet music. She must have been about 30 years old. She looked stern, teacherly. In fact, she even held herself very erect. Her paisley tartan skirt was fastened with a big ornate silver pin just below her knee on her right side. Nylon stockings with an etched black seam stretched down to her small court-shoed feet. She seemed to move with the practised poise and deportment of a true lady. I envied her form as she drew up alongside my mother. They exchanged a few words before crossing the threshold into the brightly lit building. The morning worship was frenetic rather than frantic. I remember feeling propelled towards this frenzy as if by some unseen force. Even this Christmas morning, with the ice still on the pavement, hoarfrost on the dead trees, the shops closed until the pubs could open for the drunkards, the wife-beaters, the Christ-mockers, the atheists, and assorted sinners. Together with Mrs. Frobisher playing R.C.'s triple-decker organ, Remnant Church, Walsall, West Midlands, was pulling out all the stops for Jesus. It was as if the music together with the people praying in tongues as they formed the prayer tunnels through which those needing to confess hidden sins could pass, lifted me out of my physical body. It was a sensation I rather enjoyed, although not as much as playing with Amanda, sort of living through her dolls as we made up romance adventures together. At one point, from the arched arms forming this holy pipeline, a teenage girl emerged. Her face was streaked with tears, her white dress was crumpled, and the pink ribbon tying up her golden hair curls had become loose. Her chest heaved as if she was having some kind of fit. I could see her red face as she passed us by, seated as we were in the upright wooden pews. It was only later that I learned that she needed our prayers, because even on Christmas Day she had been led astray by unnatural, unholy, perverse, impure bodily lusts. I understood these were great sins, but not unforgivable. We were all told to pray for her, and it was even suggested that Pastor Frank may need to meet with the other male elders to consider if demons were involved in her shameful acts with herself and apparently another. After 3 hours, we finally left the church. I was exhausted. My mind felt battered. My senses seemed dull, and that wave of ecstasy had broken against the sand on which my fragile reality rested. Everything felt dead, like the stark trees outside as the neon streetlights started to come to their full brightness. Only later did I come down from my room and open Christmas presents with Mum and Dad. In my mind, I thanked Jesus that he had not come back today, and we phoned my brothers Noel and Maxwell to wish them happy Christmas at their Crusade for Christ camp. End of chapter 3. Copyright Anthony E.C. Linford, December 2023, Great Yarmouth, UK.